Hi, this is Chris Cunnane, Research Director for Supply Chain Management at ARC Advisory Group. Joining me today for our Logistics Viewpoints Executive Spotlight Series is Eddie Capel, CEO of Manhattan Associates. Eddie, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Chris. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. To get started, can you tell me a little bit about Manhattan Associates and your product and service offerings?
Yeah, sure. Be happy to. The quick Manhattan in a minute is founded in 1990, so a little over 30 years old. Exclusive focus on supply chain management software. So we've grown to be about 3,600 people around the world, 15 or 16 offices in all the places that customers need us to be. Again, our focus is exclusively on supply chain management software. We've got about 1,200 tier 1 and tier 2 clients around the world, and service them from, as I say, 15 or 16 offices around the globe.
Well, the last 2 years have been incredibly difficult for supply chains due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, labor shortages, and really just the overall rising logistics costs. What can you say about the state of global supply chains as well as supply chain technology?
Yeah, so that's a big, broad, deep question there. Staying away from maybe the geopolitical challenges around supply chain. Clearly we've seen, we've seen some ebbs and flows. In the first phase of the pandemic, there we saw spikes in demand. We had, quite a lot of inventory available to everybody around the world, but big spikes in demand for certain products. Then we moved into a phase where we had stationary and stale and suspended inventory because we couldn't get to it. Retail stores were closed, some distribution centers were closed down, and seasonal inventory particularly was really challenged during that time. So we had to be nimble and do things, creative things to be able to free up that inventory, which took some interesting innovation. And then we've moved into a phase now where we've got real supply challenges, clearly. We've got to make sure that we can provide nimble, agile solutions to do everything from provide great visibility into the inbound supply, but also be able to move inventory very quickly to the right locations to service consumers and customers when the supply does hit the ports and so forth. And so it's been a really challenging time across the board. Lots of stops and starts, as I say, with inventory around the globe. At the end of the day, I think we've also seen the need for a great deal more resilience and contingency to be built into supply chain to accommodate the ebbs and flows and the real supply challenges. And then of course the other thing that we've all seen over a 20-year period, but a real acceleration of digital transformations over the last 2 to 3 years as consumer buying and fulfillment habits have changed through necessity. Through necessity. So those are the big changes. From a technology perspective, I think there's some interesting things that that we've seen for those of us that have been around for a while. 20 years ago we saw an industry that really tried to get going, which was supply chain inventory visibility solutions. So some names you probably remember from the good old days, the Velocities and the Celerixes of the world that frankly I think were ahead of their time. Right back then they were building fantastic supply chain visibility solutions, but the ROI was a bit more challenging at the time. And maybe the technology, probably wasn't quite where it needed to be to build a sustainable business. But today, you see our customers, manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, and the consumers themselves wanting to get much deeper and more granular visibility as to where products are in the supply chain. And I think, again, if you talk to manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers today, they'll tell you that there's a much greater level of return on investment for knowing exactly where products are and when they're going to be hitting their distribution centers, stores, and distribution points. So you see a lot more emphasis today, I think, on on that visibility side. And then as you move into the speed and pace of distribution that's required today, we've got, of course, a lot more points of supply than we've ever had before, but the points of delivery of increased more than exponentially, if there's such a term, from tens of thousands of stores that we used to deliver to billions of delivery locations today, homes, offices, lockers, and still all of those stores. So the complexity, the speed, and the pace that's being delivered into supply chain and the commensurate supply chain technology is just simply immense, frankly. And the technology has got to keep up. We've got to introduce flexibility, agility, pace, and again, this visibility into supply chain technology, whether it be warehousing, distribution, fulfillment, transportation, need to be, I think it's a little bit of a coy expression, but they really do need more agility, flexibility, and pace to overcome these pretty immense obstacles that we've got in front of us. And just as we think about that digital transformation, just this past peak season, NRF, National Retail Federation here in the United States, said that holiday sales grew 14.1%. MasterCard holiday sales grew 8.5%, and online sales up 61.5% compared to 2019. I skipped the 2020 for obvious reasons, but 61% online sales growth over the last couple of years. Pretty amazing.
It certainly is. Now, speaking of technology, Manhattan clearly has a large number of solution suites and products across supply chain and omnichannel functions. How do you decide where to focus your research and development efforts?
Yeah, that's a really, really fantastic question. It's always a challenge. We've got a long list of things we'd like to get after, and the question is, how do we prioritize? The good news for us is we've got a fabulous customer base across the globe. Number one, we are very engaged with them, both helping develop our solutions side by side, and in deploying. So we're really close to the market, and we're really close to the market needs. Our objective is to stay about a half a pace ahead of where our customers need to be. Frankly, we don't think you want to be too far ahead of where the customers need to be. Otherwise, you end up being the Newton of the iPhone generation, right? It was a great idea, but just too far ahead of its time, didn't take off. The good news for us is that we've got, about 3,500 people around the world. More than 2,000 of them are every single day directly connected and interacting with our customers. We've got about 1,000 people in research and development, but more than 2,000 in our professional services organizations, our customer support organizations, our product management organizations, our sales organizations, and so forth. Very connected to our customers. And we've got what we call product councils. So we've got 14 product councils, about 1,100 customer members, 450 customers represented, helping us to figure out where best to spend the $100 million of research and development investments that we make every year in the best possible way to help serve the markets, the end markets, and of course our customers.
So you had touched upon warehouse and transportation a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
What are the biggest trends that you're seeing across warehouse and transportation management right now?
Yeah. I think in those particular areas, if I were to kind of break them down, in the warehouse, this notion of pace and speed to meet the customer's customer SLAs, of course, is very important. To help with that pace and speed, the introduction of automation and specifically standalone robotics, which of course requires the blend of man and machine, together. So a lot more robotics and automation. In the world that we're living in today, and the labor shortages and so forth, the motivation and the gamification of processes inside of distribution centers to get the maximum out of it. And then maybe the last of the big three there would be a real focus on, may seem tactical, but a real focus on cubing, making sure that we're not shipping a ton of air and a ton of extra packaging and so forth, all focused around sustainability. Now, on the transportation side, capacity, of course, getting access to capacity, again, not shipping air, making sure we're being as efficient as we can possibly be with those valuable resources. And then finally, the unification of the two, bringing both transportation and fulfillment together in a single unified solve to create the greatest possible efficiencies across those two functions.
I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk more on the retail side specifically.
Yeah, sure.
So, obviously, omnichannel continues to be the biggest trend when it comes to retail. And, when I look at true omnichannel fulfillment, distributed order management seems really to be a necessity. What is Manhattan doing to really make its order management solution dynamic?
Yeah, no, that's another terrific question. It really is, a sophisticated omni-channel order management system is really the heart and soul of a great omni-channel strategy. There are so many potential points of order fulfillment, whether it be distribution centers, dark stores, retail stores, third-party vendors, and so forth. So how best to fulfill an order in the most efficient way, meeting the SLA of the customer, and where to fulfill that order from without, split shipments and all those other, inefficient things is really, really important. So, we've built a very sophisticated set of capabilities inside of our order management system. We happen to call them adaptive network fulfillment capabilities, to ensure that balance between meeting the customer demand and SLA and delivery requirements with profitability for the manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer. So that would be, one very important capability. We've built in, sort of alongside of that, some pretty sophisticated machine learning. Of course, we all know, machine learning thrives in an environment where you've got a lot of data and a lot of repetitive tasks. And, we've got a lot of data, and we do a lot of the similar things inside of order management. So we can apply some pretty sophisticated machine learning techniques and strategies into order management. We can look at all of the historical delivery and transportation lead times, apply those in real time to the consumer demand. So when they're clicking on the fulfillment options inside of any given website in real time, we can predict with an incredible level of accuracy exactly how long it's going to take to get that product to that consumer, improving that promise capability. The third thing would be delivering more digital self-service to the consumer. Right? Tell me when I'm going to get my product. Tell me how I can return my product, and creating that personalized service that's hands-off, but for the retailer, but very efficient for the consumer. And then maybe the last one I'll just pick up on and mention is the resurgence of RFID. Again, 15 years ago, we thought RFID was going to be prevalent across the end-to-end supply chain. Didn't pan out that way for all kinds of reasons, costs and ROI largely. But given that retail stores are now multi-function facilities and not just cash and carry, inventory is coming in from a lot of different directions. Inventory is going out through more channels than ever before, not just through point of sale. Inventory accuracy in the store, particularly when you're executing on a buy online, pick up in store strategy, and maybe making a promise that an order is going to be and a product's going to be ready 20, 30 minutes from now, knowing that the accuracy of the inventory position in the store is where you need it to be is becoming much more important. So we're seeing a lot more RFID initiatives being driven into the into the retail store. And then just from our perspective, from a supply chain solution perspective, again, we've got to be able to deliver nimble, fast-moving, highly innovative capabilities into the hands of our customers, retail wholesale manufacturers, much faster than ever before. And we do that through our cloud native microservices-based architecture, and we were able to deliver zero downtime update capabilities on a much more regular basis than than we were ever able to do before.
Well, the last thing I want to talk about is sustainability, as we've really seen a major shift towards supply chain sustainability. And this comes in a lot of different forms, whether it's responsible product packaging, energy efficiency, alternative fuels, optimizing routes, efficient returns management programs. So what are the key things you're seeing right now in terms of supply chain sustainability, and what is Manhattan doing to make a difference?
Yeah. No, another say maybe the best for last, right? It's a really important topic for everybody that walks the planet, and we do believe that the path to a cleaner, more sustainable future begins with every single small decision that we make. Everything from do we ask for every single order to be delivered to us on our doorstep overnight? Do we versus do we aggregate our order demand and say you can deliver that once a week, every few days? All those kinds of simple, small, everyday decisions have a massive impact when you trickle them down through the supply chain. Now, one thing I think is really important, probably pretty obvious, but I'll point it out anyway. Unlike, not in every case, but unlike manufacturing, when you manufacture to green standards, that can be expensive, building green factories and so on and so forth. And sometimes it can increase the cost of a product to manufacture in a green way. The beautiful thing about supply chain sustainability, it is symbiotic with profitability, right? Because if we can take miles out of a transportation journey, if we can remove air from a carton or remove air from a truck, if we can make less trips to a household or a distribution center, hey, we're going to be saving money. We're going to be saving money for our customer, the retail wholesale manufacturer, but at the same time, driving greater sustainability into the supply chain. So it's a really beautiful thing that we can all participate in as consumers and as as software and technology providers, as well as the manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers. So there's a really big focus, as I say, on shipping less air, smarter, greener approaches to transportation. Everything, of course, from making sure that tires are inflated to the right pressure, but all the way through sophisticated transportation optimization to make sure we're making maximum use of the assets, minimum miles traveled, making sure that we're filling trucks in the most efficient way, the most effective way, empowering these greener buying decisions for the consumer, giving them visibility into the impact of, hey, if I order 3 things in the same day, ask for all of them to be delivered overnight, but don't ask for any aggregation capabilities, letting the consumer know the impact that we're having on the on the planet, and our solutions allow that to happen, and then choosing the right partners. Frankly, we've our systems are running up in the cloud now. We're a cloud first company, so every piece of software that we've got is running in the in the cloud. And choosing the right partners are important there. We've happened to chosen Google, and are very proud of Google Cloud's commitment to both ongoing innovation, but also being carbon neutral in the very near future. So there's a lot going on in that space. Everything from the technology infrastructure providers, the technology software providers, our customers, but I would also implore every consumer to think about those decisions that they make when they're ordering, fulfilling, and getting and consuming products out there in the world too.
Eddie, I want to thank you for joining me today and really for sharing your insights around sort of the state of global supply chains right now.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time to be in the space, Chris, and it's an important time to be in the space. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk today, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
My guest today was Eddie Capel, CEO of Manhattan Associates. Thank you for watching.